Good afternoon, Konsihal. Ever since you got elected number one councilor in the Cebu City South District, so much has happened, right? Daghan na kayo nangitabo, Konsihal, right? Daghan na kayo nangitabo. Number one, of course, COVID, right?
Yes,
Kasi
sir.
who would have thought nga na COVID-19, right? Of course, recently, the mayor got sick. Now you have been vice mayor. In fact, I think right now, as we speak, you're the current vice mayor of the city. Of course, aside from the local stage, in the global stage, nakadaog na tong mga many medals, Olympics, right? We won our first ever in the history of the Philippines, our first ever gold medal, right? And
Yes.
here in the island, of course, the third bridge is almost done, the Cordova Bridge, and so many things has happened since you got elected number one councilor for Cebu City South back in May 13, 2019. Am I correct? Kasi sakto ba itong date?
Yes. Yes. May 13, 2019.
Um, um, my first question for you, so this is a question that's very close to my heart. Is of all the things that have happened that I mentioned, we are going to talk about them. But first and foremost, how do you feel about the Los Angeles Lakers and their senior citizen team? And nag-reload sila. They got rid of some of the players, and now they got Westbrook, a very divisive player. They also got Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo, Carmelo Anthony, and a few young up and coming stars like Nunn and a few other players. But more or less, they're really banking on age, on experience, right? Ikaw, you have been a player for how many decades? Maybe like 20 years, right? You've been a basketball player, and you've been young, and you've also been old playing basketball. How do you feel about the chances of the Los Angeles Lakers? Unsa man nga klaseng kaning how do you call this move sa Los Angeles Lakers? Do you think this will reap them? This will end with a championship, or will this be another disappointment? Kinumdum katong una na si Gary Payton, si Karl Malone, katong Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant nga murag na disappointed yung tagmayo ato kay we thought nga ma-champion sila to, but they got defeated by the Detroit Pistons. So how do you feel about the Lakers' chances now, Konsehal, or Vice Mayor acting?
Okay. Yeah, I remember that 2004, no? And that was the start of the breakup
Mhm.
of Shaq and Kobe.
Yes, correct.
Sa imong question by okay, so I would favor the new lineup. Yes, napagawas itong mga batanon, and I think with Melo, maka-relax gamay si LeBron. I don't know if he'll do that, pero he'll be having games that he will ihatag niya ang scoring load, and also he can give it to Westbrook, which I think the last 4 or 5 years has been dominating. Well, di ba? I mean, really creating for the Washington, Houston, and even Oklahoma. But now having LeBron and Carmelo and Anthony, mas dynamic pa gid ni. So ang chances, tanaw nako, it would be a disappointment if di sila ma-champion. But I'm really looking forward nga naa sila sa finals. And mo na ihuwato na to next June. But I think in the long run, it will help really LeBron.
Westbrook, you mentioned one of their biggest acquisitions, if not their biggest acquisition in this particular season. Is a very divisive, polarizing player. Kanisha, see, Westbrook has tried it in many teams, like you said, right? Houston, Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, Washington Wizards. Tood, he's a star in each and every one of those teams. Pero murag wa gyud never really reached the finals, or their performance in the playoffs were eliminated the second round or first round. So ingon dili gid siya ingon nga uh, uh, can carry a team by himself, right? So how do you feel about the addition of Westbrook now? Will he still be the same disappointing player that he once was? Although I would uh, uh, hesitate in saying that because he's been a triple double machine, right? In all of those teams, but still, the end goal is winning a championship. But that's all the objective of all the NBA teams or any team for that matter. How do you feel about his style of play mo complement ba ka ni LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Carmelo Anthony and all of those players? Do you think his style of play will be complementary, or will he have to change the way he plays the basketball?
Did you mention disappointing?
Kinsa?
Ikaw, ni-mention ka about Westbrook? Like,
Yeah, in terms of
yeah,
mga other
dili
teams
siya
ba?
maabot. Yeah.
Hindi siya maabot kaning at that level nga they want to, because they Oklahoma City Thunder obviously they had Durant, right?
Okay. First, when he was at Oklahoma with Kevin Durant, bata pa gid sila.
Mm-hmm.
And then he transferred to, I think, Houston.
Houston, yeah. So that's Harden.
Yeah, of course, di ba? And he transferred to Washington Wizards.
Mm.
Di ba? Of course, again, but having a LeBron, Anthony Davis, and the scorer in Carmelo, yes, I would say wala pa gid siya naabot sa deep in the playoffs, but having those two guys, and I think dili gyapon usbon gid ang style ni Westbrook, but I would say again it will be beneficial for Dwight Howard, LeBron, kay siya man ay mag-create. I mean, at his age, I think he can still do it, but he doesn't have to do it the whole season good si LeBron. I mean, mao gid ni times tingay. I mean, I think it's against LeBron nga kanang mo pahuway. Like load, they call it load management, di ba?
Yes.
But having a Westbrook really would be murag driving force. Yes, LeBron will still be the number one guy, pero kinahanglan na jud kay batanon kung sa team pa ka kanis Westbrook, mura ni Calvin Abueva, di kapuyan, inana manakit dito, sakit lagi, pero a team needs to have a Calvin Abueva, and mao ni si Westbrook yun, murag dog ba nga in a way. Yes, murag stubborn player, pero different kind of guy nga kinahanglan sa Lakers.
Ang average age sa Lakers, that's why I was kidding around earlier nga murag senior citizens ni ay lagi pang hire sa Lakers karon, murag mga kaning returnees. Some of them second time, third time. I think Dwight Howard has been 3 times already, right? And Rajon Rondo the second time. So that mura siya mga reunion of sorts ba. My question here is, Don, you played for a basketball team nga medyo you were already playing for the PBA or basketball in general for like maybe more than almost 2 decades. Siguro sa murag medyo dili na ka, you were not the young player that you once were. So maka-relate you gani nga you're at that level of your career na all you want is maybe win a championship, and you don't really have all of those young kaning that young energy ba nga bago pa kayo, excited pa kayo kasanan. Plus of course your body is not as solid as it once was. Okay, of course time, right? So how do you feel about the strategy how will they let these old timers play, and how will they be effective in spite of their age?
Well, I think they have learned their lessons, like katong panahon nilang Shaq and Kobe and Gary Payton, like sila Karl Malone. I think they were na trabaho gito sila maayo, and knowing this long season there would be stretches of road games nga mas makapahuway ni sila, and I experienced that later on my career. Even practice in hour practice or an hour and a half practice, the most that I can go hard for that practice is 40-45 minutes.
Okay.
And the rest I'm not shooting nako, because they would really prepare you for games, especially back-to-back games and of course ilang strength and conditioning, of course their coaches kibaw na gid na once they see the schedule, kibaw na sila how to go about it, and ganahan gid na sila fresh gid na ilang players come playoff time, kay mao gid na crucial, and those guys that we mentioned willing kay na sila mo sacrifice, not to burag ilang ihatag nga diha na lang na responsibility na sa kagay, pero kani kuan ni sila kanang nana sila sa stage lang, kay dili na sila wa na sila gaapas ba sa individual accolades but of the team, and mo na difference katong time nga bata pa sila Westbrook, sila Durant, sila Harden. Yes, ganahan sila ma-champion, pero they're not in that mindset yet of really what needs to be done for a team to make it deep in the playoffs, especially championship.
Don, how long did you play professionally?
20 years.
20 years. Wow, that's like a Kobe Bryant a
Yes,
number, right?
sir.
Kobe Bryant also played for 20 years in the NBA in one basketball team. Akong pangutana doon is this. Obviously, you were already in the tail end of your beautiful and championship filled and accomplishment filled career. So in the let's say the last 3-4 years, Don, um, what kaning obvious limitations did you feel kaning unsa man di na kay ka mag-ambak og taas unya paghuman imong describe ko na to us what it feels like for a player to have played basketball for that long. Unsa man imong mindset ana, plus of course knowing your body, what will you do with that knowledge nga dili na kabatanon?
Well, bay sa paglayat dili sa panghambog makalayat gyapon ko,
Okay.
makaabot gyapon ko. Di na lang kay ko makadunk pero makalayat
Okay.
gyapon ko, makadagan gyapon ko, but it's just the recovery really if you play 20-25 minutes that night. It's really hard to practice the next day na bura kag batanon. So the coach would give you shooting lang ka doon or ice inana ba. And what I do when we play, like for example, if there's a 7 p.m. game, second game in the morning, mag-shooting, you go na, mag-skills, you go by myself. So, going to the game, kibawan ako sa akong mga movements, inana, but later parts sa akong career, ako na nang gipahuway. Wala na ko mag-extra work the morning of those games. Kaya kibaw man ko, mas kinulan, fresh ko sa duwa. Pero I already know the most minutes that I can play. But there were times ka, si Coach Alex tanaw gid niya nga needed jud ko sa game, and there was even a time gid nga the whole second half I was there. Kibaw man siya sa akong pace, kibaw man siya nga kanang makontrol na kong duwa bisag wa ko'y bola, and sa panghambog mas akong well kanang imong pagsabot sa duwa ba, that you know what's going to happen. In fact, naay usa ka time nga wa niya gitawag sa timeout, but I used this na nag-inbound ang talk and text. Abi na ko wa napansin ni coach, but what I did is nag-inbound sila labaw mi or igualis mi ato igualis, so they have the last shot. So what I did, ga-inbound si Ryan Reyes, gatan-aw ko sa movements sa mga teams nila, nigawas ko. Akong gituparan si Ryan Reyes. So the referee called for a delay of the game. But I told some of my teammates kung nakibaw sila, naadya pa dong si Jason Castro, make sure lang kibaw mo sa dapit. So we're able to steal that game. Nidaog me through Calvin Abueva, buzzer beater. Okay, I was able to get the ball, though we have a timeout. Wala ko ni gamit sa timeout. Ako nang gi-release ni Calvin. If mo call kong timeout, basig mahunong pa, and they will be able to strategize defensive game plan. So wala na. But the next day's viewing, ningon siya, this is what Don did. I didn't teach you guys. It's based on experience. He went outside to be called for delay of the game. He didn't call timeout. So something like that. Mausanay, in return, you're not physically strong or active, but mentally you're able to approach the game na other mga older players can do. And mo na mahitabo nila LeBron, Carmelo Anthony.
Don, if you were not yet a seasoned player, if you in your first, let's say 2-3 years in professional basketball, would you have thought of that particular play that you mentioned?
Well, dili kay you will just like be thinking of your guy, of what to do to stop him inana ba. And I guess part of it is also na develop animo. I have older teammates, but I remember katora gyud nga duwa nga observant ako inana ba, and think, this is the burag kuan lang. Sa tawag nimo?
Automatic lang siya.
Yeah, nigawas ng automatic. But
Okay.
like, flow lang ba? It wasn't planned. It was just flow of the game, and naara sa imong nahuna, and I think based sa kuan na sa kadaghanon na duwa tingali, And kapila na ka nga pwede, ang kibaw ka, oh, bitaw no? Ano nga ito na debut previously?
Don, I often hear the words basketball acumen being mentioned. Kanang murag intelligent kasi mo play basketball. There are players that are intelligent when they play basketball, those that are not. Dili some na don itulo na nimong basketball acumen nimo or sometimes murag innate yun na siya murag imo nang nature nga murag medyo you're smarter than everybody else. How's that? Because there is like for example, like you mentioned LeBron James. He's a very smart player, right? There are other players as as big as talented as he is, but it doesn't have the basketball acumen that LeBron James has. Unsa man na siya, do you learn that from experience, and how come nga naiuban nga mga season to mga players, but they're not as smart as let's say LeBron James? How is that?
I guess it's the mindset. Some of it is like awareness, and also like you care for something really big, which is the team.
Mhm.
Some wouldn't care, like I'm just thinking of myself. I'm just
Okay.
thinking of my individual awards. Then sometimes dili to siya. Yes, they might have abilities nga other normal players don't have, like the mentality to really score and how to be like a beast, different, but on a team concept, diha gid na advantage yun si LeBron nana ba, and it's really, though his stats are bural yung kanang individual, pero he's really thinking of the team, and it shows he's been like that at an early age. So mao na akong gipa-develop sa akong anak nga dong, if you're really thinking of the team, you'll be developing something that a culture or kanang ang coach wants you to have, or you wants you to be part of the team, because you have this certain culture or thinking that you're always there for the team. Natural man na nga natay personal ambition, personal goals, but when you have a team goal and ma-develop na nimo, and you'll magunahon na jud ka pirmi about what's best for the team, and it goes to shows nga bitaw no, I could have done that, I could have teach that to my teammates nana. So I think ma-develop na nimo, pero it starts with that mindset that kibaw jud ka nga you're part of the team, you're not the team but you're part of the team. I hope that
Don,
helps.
would you admit to us here nga when you were younger you were more selfish, and when you got a little seasoned na like a less selfish na is that really a characteristic of a young player? Now, most young players are really think of themselves, and pag human later on in their careers, then sila magka less selfish. Muna sila mamasa ng bola, or they have a sort of like a bigger picture when they play the basketball game.
When you mean
Personally,
young, like high school, grade school?
I think like
Okay.
even professionally when you were in your
Okay.
first year in the PBA or CBA.
Okay. Kay numdum jud ko nga di jud ka musikat kung di ka magbinuaya. That term, right?
Uh,
Pero ang akong pagkabuaya is I have to be the most prepared player of the team. Because
Okay.
if somebody wouldn't be able to do their job, I would be there to do that. Mao gyud akong mindset. Like for example, kung buaya ko in a way, ang akong buaya is kinalan I should be the most prepared player in ana ba. So there would be times, yes, like for example, I wasn't the top scorer sa high school, pero I know that I can be of value to the team. Sa college tingali, because there were a lot of better players, kanumdum ko dili ko first five, nindot kay akong showing the first few games, then gibangko ko, I felt bad inana ba nga naman nindot mga ko inana ba anong gibangko man ko inana ba, and it challenged you. And as long as you have that mindset, kaabot na nimo sa professional game or kanang level, naa man say kaparehan og level, di ba? Pareha sa nimong mindset, so magkasumpaki gud mo inana ba. But then again, you have this thinking that you're part of the team, and how the only way you can call yourself a great player or a very good player is you're part of a winning culture or a winning team.
That terminology about ball hog, buaya, we hear that a lot, right? In fact, Kobe Bryant was thought to be a ball hog and all that, especially during the early part of his career. Don, how much of being a ball hog or buaya in our vernacular is part of the strategy, and how much of it is really the basketball player taking upon himself to score as many points as he can. And then don't you get called out by your coach, for example? Like, binuaya diha. How does it work, and what part of it is strategy, what part of it is really the player nagbinuaya gud sila basig wala gisugo sa coach si siya? How does that work?
Well, naagi mga tao nga inanay kinaiya binuaya ha, naagi mga nana. But some teams needs a buaya.
Oh, okay.
Like for example, wa may laing scorer, wa may laing makabuhatan na di ila yun ang ihatag dito. And usually if I'm the opposing team, I'm excited to defend that buaya nga player. Okay, if I'm able to stop him or limit him, then I'll be able to do my job and makaingon ko na stop na ko taong pinakabuaya nga player. But honestly speaking, naadyo'y games gyud nga ako, ingnan jud ko nila pag binuaya doon, pag binuaya, pero mugawas gyud akong pagka LeBron. Mugawas gyud akong pagka team player. Yeah. Many times like especially nga ako ang dako nga gibayran or binana for a exhibition game or kanang out of town game nana ba. Mugawas gyud akong pagka team player because you feel fulfillment ba nga makita ka nga nindot ka ang feeling sa imong teammate after the game, like for example di ay wa kaduwag tarong ana ba I always feel bad about that nana ba, though na kinahanglan gyapon nga mo daog pero ipakita nimo nga yes if you do this I can help you be better nana ba. So mugawas ang akong pagka LeBron than Kobe.
LeBron James dili ka Kobe Bryant, LeBron James gani. This Westbrook character ba, si Westbrook ba, he's really I don't know what part of it is strategy and what part of it is really buaya, because he's been the top scorer of all of the teams that he's played in, a triple-double machine, right? My question here is, Don, how do you control a player like Westbrook in a team? Like, like if na buaya, superstar buaya, for example lang ba, kunya medyo sige-sige siya og he always tries to score as many points as he can. For example, how does a coach, how does a team behave if na buaya nga player? Unsa man bala siya, pawaon sa coach or unsa man, like how does it work?
Okay lang mo say lang ko example sa high school when I was part of the coaching staff katong first time nga niduwa diri si Ay sa Cebu, din na champion sila. And na may mga players gyud nga buaya inana ba din amo pasabton des when will show him video. Amo lang giingnan nga kani not all the time you will be the one scoring but you'll be the one help creating kay ika-atake nimo double teaman gyud ka inana. And fortunate lang ko kay kani mga bata ganahan magid sila nga they make a name for themselves. Maabot sila sa time nga sila may number 1 player nga pilion for college inana ba. And mao na akong gi-input sa akong anak on his second year nga he could have been buaya pero he chose to be a team player, and there would be times nga siya sa ingnon sa coach nga magbinuaya inana and because he was able to build that good relationship sa iyang mga teammates. And para nako si Ice gud ang pangutanon ko unsay pinaka nindot nga qualities ni Ice as a player is how he relates with his teammates. Ball boy pa na or unsa pa na siya mataas or makuan pa na nga player is maayo gid siya. So going back to your question is we always show them videos nga how they can always be better. But then again, naamagay sila is certain skills kinahanglan sa gid sila. Some teams really want and mauna siya inana and then there are a lot of professional teams na that exactly is a Westbrook. Kaya na may ubang team nga kinahanglan gyud siya magbinaya.
Okay. So you think that this Lakers basketball team is a good team? But are they good enough to beat the New Jersey Nets? Are they good enough to defeat Kevin Durant, Irving, and Harden? What do you think?
Well, listen na ha. Listen gina kay Harden. Mao sa naong itanaw. I think few months from now, hopefully mao na to tanawon. Nets, Lakers, sinana ba, but kisa pa may nawa mas ni Andre Jordan sa Nets.
Okay, kuha nila si what's his name? Aldridge. Ni balik si Aldridge. Remember that guy from the Spurs, LaMarcus? Yeah, he's back.
Marcos, naa si Blake Griffin, kitsa
Yeah, and a host of other players. Basta kay ang ilang top kalang first five nila, Griffin, Aldridge, and the big three. Muna sila more or less are the first five of the New Jersey Nets. Of course, last year was nakaduwa si Harden umayo, nakaduwa to para medyo it was a haphazard, murag he forced siya or he wasn't really into it, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Imo, if you had to bet without a single game played yet, who would you put your money on? The Lakers or the Nets?
Karon nga kuan na ako sa
Before the
Nets.
game, yeah.
Na ako sa Nets.
Huh?
It would change during the course of the season.
Of course, yeah. Of course, but right now, just on paper ba, tanaw nimo?
Well, just on paper, Lakers.
Mo ba?
Oh.
Don, with all of this basketball experience, teamwork, imong na experience for most of your life, right? What do you think? What were you most prepared to do as a city councilor? Like, unsa may mga butangan, all of these things that we are talking about now about basketball, about teamwork, about discipline. Do you think kaning was easily applied to being a Cebu City Councilor? Murag sayo na lang nimo because you had that sort of preparation, that background, discipline, and all that stuff. What part of running a city? Go ahead.
Again, what made me...
What are the things that you're most prepared for ba na sayo na lang nimo when you became a Cebu City Councilor because you have a sports background? Unsa man mga trabaho, mga jobs, mga activities sa pag-konsehal nga sayo na lang nimo because you have a basketball or a sports background?
Well, the first thing would be is katong amot ang gi-organize nga mga tournaments before the pandemic. And we were really looking, we will be offending some of our leaders. Like for example, because kibaw man ko, in each barangay there are two parties, the losing and the winning party. Not the losing. Like for example, if kanang barangay is not our amua, siya administration, then ako lang pasabton ang amo ang party nga dili ila nga kung kinsa to ang barangay gyud, they should be the one fielding a team. If dili sila mo appeal og team, that's the time we go to you. Lain man kayo nga mo diretso kusod sa atong mga leaders, pero naa day barangay captain, it would be unfair kay burag nahog na namulutik ako inana ba. So ako lang is I was ready that I will be offending some leaders sa kana lang nga part nga pag-approach, but I know that nakasabot sila sa akong intention and mo na nailalis gamay, but it's burag ma-process ra nga mastoryaan ba, but I was ready for that nga.
Because of your basketball background. Now, yes. What were you least prepared for? Like pag abot mo unsaon man siya? Name me one thing because of your basketball background kaning you were so unprepared for a specific thing or a specific job, a specific facet of your many jobs as a Cebu City Councilor.
So from presiding chairmanship, like sa scholarship, ako mga kauban, mga head sa TESDA, head sa treasury department, tanan mga head and different school coordinators to preside a meeting, to preside a session, being acting vice mayor, to preside different meetings. That's why I was very observant on Edurama and the late Tony Cuenco, si Philip Sapra on how they preside meetings, especially si Panday Garganera. Observe lang jud ko nila and slowly I try to apply what I've learned inana ba, and just really coordinating people to be able to do their roles ba. Burag yung manage burag yung head coach ba. And sa ako, hapit tanan yun nga, I wasn't prepared. So even talking to mga dagko na nga tao. So observant lang yun ko inana ba.
So nakat-o na ka eventually, of course, obviously. Basketball, of course, has taught you to be a team player, right? So a lot of running a city, a lot of being a Cebu City Councilor and now vice mayor, acting vice mayor, a lot of that has got to do with teamwork. And you have to play you have to be a team player, right? So that
Yes.
is similar to basketball, uh, being a Cebu City Councilor. But unlike basketball, Don, you also win by standing your ground
Yes.
in running a city, in being a politician, in being a Cebu City Councilor, and doing the unpopular thing. Were you ever on the opposite side of the majority? Were you alone on a certain position because you stood your ground and you did not feel that this was something that you agreed on? And how did that feel? And how did you manage that position of yours?
Now, before we go to the session, naaman mi caucus, and there are
Okay.
certain things that we will discuss. Then pangutanon mi Raymond being the majority floor leader,
Okay.
siya man na imong pangutanon mo, how come they're like this, inana ba? So, diha pa lang, mag-vote lang mi, do you agree to this, inana bay, alanganin ko na bay, inana ba, nagpasabton lang nako siya, inana ko
Mhm.
stand, in someone, and even I just, di lang ako isulti ang detail, but there was one voting and ingon ko, I'll vote with reservation.
Okay. Okay.
So something like that ba na ba, but yeah, like for example they'll present something, the executive department and kami sa council moingon gid mi, or I mean sa majority ba di mo ko mo agree na ba inana ba, pwede ba inana ba, things of that nature. So before they present it to the council, we already make a stand inana, and it's really up to Raymond to uh, to advance that agenda. And I remember also when I was presiding, because when you're the presiding officer, dili man ka mohimo sa imong stand inana ba. You have just, the only way you will vote is magtay na sila being the presiding officer. And I remember there was a certain agenda nga gipresent ni Raymond, and I approve it already. Kay nana man ko discussion, amendment, objection. I was hearing none from the minority. Then akong gibang ang gavel, meaning it was already considered approved.
Okay.
But nihangyo man og motion for reconsideration ang minority floor leader in Councilor Archival nga dili ni siya maayo. It has to go through like this, the process and ana. And mo to ni message ko ni Philip Sapra siya, bay, can you agree ba ka with the kuan and ana ba, so we can uh, have them present their discussion kay paspas ligi daw kuno inana ba. So true enough, I listened to them, and I remember unsay gitudlo ni Mike Rama nga yes, the majority will win because of the numbers, but you have to give the right of the minority to present their inputs or observation. So it's up to the people to kuan uh, maminaw nganong kana ang decision sa minority nana. So I was able to do that. Ipaminaw na ko ang minority and istorya ang majority. And I remember Philip Sapra, I messaged him, what's your stand? Nana ba? I messaged him through text, nana ba? And he agreed with minority, and we presented to Raymond, and though it was already approved, and it was there was a move. So si Edo Rama, sige siya nga, Mr. Chair, 1 minute recess, pero wa na ko paminawa si Edo Rama. Ako sang gipaminaw ang minority understand on that certain agenda and ana ba. Then human naman ni ana na lang si Edo Rama, Mr. Chair, ganina radyo ko sige nimo pangayog 1 minute recess. Then that's the time I bang the gavel, 1 minute recess, then discuss then me off ang discussion and ana. Then we explained to Raymond that it has to go through a certain process and ana ba. Then true enough, because it was majority, meaning bisag majority me, we agree with what the minority presented, and it was reconsidered, and it was moved or burag na differ siya, meaning wa siya na move for that night. So I hope na nasabtan nimo nga
Yes. 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 More or less. Yeah.
naagi mga times nga di ka mo agree na ba, but pasabto na nimo, it has to go through certain process
But
which maubot.
did you ever have, or do you have a murag causa? Do you have a advocacy? Do you have something that is you believe in your heart completely, but is unpopular? Unpopular maybe to the people, to the public, and also maybe perhaps unpopular to the majority and even the minority. Na kay position nga ana doon.
Yes, we have this kaning garbage problem that we have right now. I don't know
Okay.
if naabot na nimo sa issues, and the council. I remember I was the presiding officer of that special session, really intended for garbage because uh, uh, acting mayor man to that time si Mike Rama, and he asked for this special session intended only for garbage because dako kay ni siya nga na case inana ba. And again, it involves a certain contractor, and di na lang ko mo-mention, but it's already been released or been referred to NBI by nibalik naman og Vice Mayor ato si Mike Rama. So ako nibalik na sa COSAS Council, and we listened, and we said nga it has to be referred to that agency for have it investigated by nana ba. So kana ako ningon ko ba nga I remember man god storya si Edurama, I was presiding this, ningon siya during their time mao ni budget, and the next administration double or triple the budget nana ba. Of course, when you have a budget like, okay, let's say 100 million by for the year, if wa nimo nagasto ang, let's say 16 ako mini able to save room kumawa kay unstable.
Yeah, you're cutting out. Okay, hello? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Is it okay? Is it stable now?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, okay, clear.
Sorry. So well, you were saying?
So akong giingon ba is
Putol
karon. Okay na?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So mao to ba niingon ko ba nga I think the executive department has to present it to that agency na kay nabuhat naman namo sa council asa mi kutob ani, and mao to and advocacy really is for transparency sa kato nga situation. So we were really into that.
Don, I know being a counselor to you is very new to you, and in fact, when we spoke last year, 2 years ago, Moraga, you don't have any political experience whatsoever. So, Major, you were still a newbie, obviously a freshman, right? But karon, you're vice mayor, right? Because our mayor Labelia is on leave, and did you ever preside as mayor? I think you did for a few days, right? Also.
The mayor?
Yeah. Diba nilarga mo sa si Mike Rama kanina? Was that true? Yeah, the mayor for a few days.
Ang tingali ba I just found out nga burag na mayor ko tanan ako burag na mayor din ko duha ka oras no kay nanarga man dai silang duha di ay.
Duha ka.
Wala sila dire mga nana pero wa man toy dako nga issue nana ba burag late ilang flight nya wala sila padong na sila balik, so nana wagid na burag
wa ka nakakapitalize imong 2 days 2 hours nga mayor.
O masay memo of being acting mayor by for a few hours sa tingali asa rin si mayor nana ba.
Okay.
Tuas gawas tuas sa Manila.
Okay.
Asa man si Vice Mayor? Out of town sa. Okay, nana. Pero wa man sige kan for a few hours naman to ba ya kay naman mo.
To our mayor. So so you have become a mayor. So how do you feel about being a mayor and a vice mayor? Don, what's the difference between a Cebu City councilor and a Cebu City mayor? Vice mayor, vice mayor.
Okay, vice mayor by is I just have to be as prepared on the session. Burag homework yung kayo para nako.
Okay.
Kaabot sa Wednesday.
Okay.
On regular session on that session and ana mas mo nang mag-homework yung ko inana. Do bisag consular ko na magyapon ko yung homework bahaton ni nana ba.
Mhm.
Pero mas kuan lang kayo when you're vice mayor and daghang kay kuan ba daghang trabaho daghang kay kag pirmahan kay labi na sa legislative department ikaw may mo pirma tanan empleyado sa legislative department mga staff sa mga councilors
Mm.
mga staff sa secretariat diri nana ba so
Mm.
mao na siya ang difference.
Don, Manny Pacquiao, I think, just announced. I don't know if it's today, but gani ba to hapon or maybe
Hapon.
tomorrow. I'm not sure. Pero Manny Pacquiao looks like he's running for president, right?
Yes.
Manny Pacquiao has been a boxer for many years now, just like you. He's also an athlete. Ilang experience is mostly sports. Of course, he threw his hat on the political arena. Now he is a Cebu City, not a Cebu City councilor, but a senator, a Philippine senator, right? And eyeing on the presidency. How do you feel, Don, about a an athlete, especially Manny Pacquiao, na boxer, na ang iyang wear and tear is not just on the knees like you, not just on the arms and the on the body, but also on the brain. Sumbagon pirmi ang murag iparok pirmi ang iyang kung a regular person pa na siya. How do you feel about athletes running for the highest position in the land?
Well, it's I well who's the other athlete that won the kuan? Wala man tingali na or actor lang in the States, Ronald Reagan, diba?
Senator Bradley, I think. I think there's a senator. Na basketball player, NBA.
Did he run for president or?
No. I think I'm not sure, but he is senator.
Yes. Oh, so again, being a boxer is an individual sport, but it doesn't mean that you're not part of the team. You have your coaches, you have your health coach or strength and conditioning, and you have your support group. Of course, in a way, you make decisions based on your intuition or inana ba, and of course, his heart, his passionate heart to really serve. Akong feeling ana is, I think this is for him the best opportunity to run. Kay on 2028 tingali makalimtan or not as I would say buragay kuan ang iyang pangan or dungog kayo inana ba. So ang akong tanaw is burag like for example if mudagan ka og vice president and president burag pareha ramang kunong gasto might as well run for the higher position, di ba? And mo na ako feeling na is maybe he feels like this is the best time to run, but being an athlete it shouldn't be yes naman nawa naman tong times tingali that the one running should be somebody like this na makategorize o unsa na nga word ba nga kinahanglan ang deserving ra gid madagan is somebody like this, but then again we're sometimes popularity wins.
Of course.
Yes. And mao na paboran ako nganong na number 1 ko. I would say kay kaadto na ko dito on a 5-minute speech I would only be talking about my teammates or fellow candidates sa akong slot, but then of course mas ma-recognize man ko nila na ba, and I think mo man giapa sa social media, di ba, na ba. So
medyo cryptic makaka doon. So how do you feel about Manny Pacquiao? Do you think that it is a good thing, not only for himself because you mentioned murag opportunity niya, because he's very popular now, but running for the highest position in the land is not about an opportunity. It's about because you're popular, it's your opportunity to serve. Right. So how do you feel about him? Number one, do you think he has a fighting chance, pun intended? And do you think if he does win, do you think maayo siya, he'll be good for the country?
Well, fighting chance, yes, he has a fighting chance. Kay Pacquiao man siya, based on the surveys, I think he's consistently second or third tingali pinakaubos. But I don't know if he'll be able to sustain that for until May. And to answer your question, if he is he'll be good. We cannot really know that, but from what I know or from what I heard from a certain friend, Jordan Sebastian, di ba?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, he met Manny Pacquiao and they discussed some things, and he believed that he believed in his heart na inani ang kasing-kasing ni Pacquiao because he told me story on what Pacquiao said on that meeting, and I was touched. I will tell you na lang off the record what he said. His heart is there, it's in place, but again, having that idea and from implementation is a different story na sa, diba? And that's where you really have to connect with both the executive and the legislative, the Senate and the Congress to be able to implement what you want to happen.
Don, isn't that kind of naive because your heart is in it? Kaning you will become an effective leader. Kay kadaghanan sa mga managan doon, they always say their heart is in it, right? Ilang kasing-kasing na diri na diha. But intention, your heart is not enough. You have to realize what's in your heart, right? Sa nasa mong kasing-kasing kinala may tampo sa nakay. Pwede ra kaning maayo ka nga tao sa imong kasing-kasing pero wa kay nahimo sa imong kasing-kasing nga buhat, right? So and you have to surround yourself also with people like you nga sakto mo ka wavelength mo nga pareha mo mission or vision, right, sa imong kasing-kasing. So kung presidente ka, you have to appoint so many people. Ganyan naman gyud mo masaag na there are people who will not do what you want them to do, and there are people who will be corrupt, and there are people who will not the same heart as you. So dili na enough yun ang kasing-kasing.
Bitaw, di get enough. Mabito to ako that time ko, wow, I was amazed lang ba of his thoughts when he said that to Jordan, and he wasn't really thinking of his own benefit when he said that. Kinindot mo kayong proposal nila na ba? Ako na lang again off the record ba. Pero going back nga, also you have the heart to really terminate people in your circle if they're not performing.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that? And I'm not sure if dili pa ta kasulti ana, and then it will just be level lang, for example, after the filing diha na namang gawas unsay tinuod o unsay di. And the good thing about it is from October, November, December, pila ka months leading to the election is the people has that idea now of what he wants for a president, and sometimes what you want really mapildi lang ka depende na sa majority, and diha na masud ang kanang mga maneuvering nila,
mga moves.
Yeah, mga moves. So I don't know if natubag na ko imong question, but you have, aside from your heart, if you have to have that mindset really if things are not working. Di ba sa Japan, di ba bay? If you're not performing or if you're not unsa gani ang mga Japan Prime Minister or mga leaders?
Prime Minister, yeah, I think parliamentary man sila siguro, I think.
If di sila ka perform or if di sila ka kuan, di ba? They have that value ba nga
magharakiri, magsikog.
something like that, or resign or give it
Yeah.
to the next party or next person in line,
Yeah.
something like that, di ba?
Don, I mentioned to you earlier na si Pacquiao Monggol, unlike you, ang legs ng madal, kaning boxing Monggol, it really takes its toll on your mind, right? And I think the biggest tool that you have when you run a country is your mind, right? Dili Pacquiao nga si Pacquiao mo grabe na kay mental brain damage nga it'll affect the way he performs. So, kamusta man si Pacquiao? Is he still alright? I was just watching a Muhammad Ali documentary ba niya, di ba? Si Muhammad Ali nagka-Parkinson's ba siya, just like his trainer ni Pacquiao, si Roach, right? Medyo ang iyang utok ginagin mao ba? Do you think Pacquiao is not suffering from anything caused by his career as a boxer? Kapila na sa gisumbag siyang
Well, karon by dili pagid na siya mogawas. Later part siguro like si, di ba, si Muhammad Ali late raman like 50s, 60s and even 70s, obvious na kayo. And also because during those times he fought for like every after 3 months and 15 rounds pa,
Yeah,
di ba?
yeah. Oh.
And
Heavyweight
yes,
pa yun.
heavyweights pag yun ang kontra. It's different also with Pacquiao. And from what we know of Pacquiao is, I'm not really vouching for Pacquiao or
Yeah.
whatever. Kaya mga naman
Okay.
itong na-discuss, di ba? But
Yeah.
being as an athlete, also you find ways how to be sharp and makita na to. And kay numdum ko, ang giingon ni Jordan, by I'm waiting for Senator Pacquiao for 3 hours. Nag-chess by and dili lang siya ordinary chess. Kamao siya by nana ba? So, he keeps his brain working and nagtuon ba or unsa pa na ba. But for now, isa ko makaingon ba nga nanay damage na di pa man na mo gawas ba nana ba later in your life man tingay na siya nana. So yes, there's also a factor with regards to that, and it will be questioned going through the campaign if it's really 100%
Very interesting,
and
right?
if it will be really effective.
So you don't feel na take advantage lang siya doon? Do you feel nga this is really him? This is not wala siya gigalgal.
Bay, naagyud sa mga inana, bay, di gid na malikayan. Like ako, ingnan ko, bay, doon, dagan na nani ang posisyon, nana, di ba? Natural na, bay, nana ba? Ikaw doon, dagan, taas nga posisyon, nana, ngayon, ikaw go number 1 sa South, go din, nana, natural na, bay, kanay, nana. But then again, what's your reason of really pushing me? Do you think I'm capable? Di ba? Do you think I can do this? Nana, yes, I may have the heart, but do you think I can? Yes, with experience, you will learn something like that. But natural na ba yung nana? But again, di na siya mawa. Naamagay yung mga tao sa gigat that will push it. Also, not that it's their agenda, but also meaning maybe another party na sa ilang ganan nga di na mapadayon, things of that nature.
Dad, you've been Cebu City Council for how many years now? 2019, 20, 21, so mga 2-3 years na. Kamusta man? How do you feel about it? Okay lang? Lipay ka? Was it what you expected? Was it disappointing? Was it surprising? How do you feel about it now? Karon, after becoming a Cebu City Councilor, feeling mo?
Well, stress ba di mawa, pero nalingaw man sa ko. I find it fulfilling ba, like for example na manidre na mga concerns sa ila nya makatabang mi ma-refer na mo siya sa kaning agency or department nya makatabang mi, though nagi mga times like for example when I declare for being independent, daghang kay mga comments ba nga inana.
Pero so declare kang independent candidate, dili naka with a party?
Yeah, the gawas ko along with Philip Sapra, and my intention really was it would be unfair to the party nga ila kong waton, but I'm not yet decided if I want to run or unsa kay ay mo na nga ako na ko obligasyon as a Phoenix assistant coach, and perfect na nako nga moadto sa Phoenix sa bubble kay online session man mi nabalik na ko pagka-konsehal, so it's not much load to be online session inana ba. So mao na nga kadito saba kayo sila.
Okay na. Naghagok sa ning iro nako diri gali.
In a way by nga expecting this kaning mga issues, yes, part of it, and I find it fulfilling nga makatabang. But also the reason I went sa bubble because sa PBA manggod, it's the purest of para nako ba in sports, like you prepare for this and you work with your teammates or coaches, a game plan, and if it won't work, then you have another game to prepare, something like that. Nana ba? So ako, it was para nako therapeutic for me to do again what I used to doing. Though what ko na practice, pero I'm part of preparing the team to perform for that night. Then if we fail, we go back to the drawing boards. So
na-disturb din ako doon. Unsa may gipanggalgal nimo nila doon? Unsa may what are they telling you? Panagalgal kag what? Presidente mo sa Pilipinas?
Dili.
Sa mga posisyon na ilang gigalgal nimo?
Ha?
Unsa may mga posisyon na gigalgal nimo? Congressman? Congressman siguro, right? Congressman, right? I think I heard that rumor, right?
Yeah, it went nigawas na siya.
So do you think you're ready for a higher position, or based on today's feeling? Like, do you think you can be congressman? Do you think you can be a higher position, in a higher position? Feeling mo?
Feeling nako.
Uh-huh.
Well, our feelings change every day.
Uh-huh. But right now, if I ask you right now, you ready
If
to
I
become
feel,
congressman?
well, if I have, not just say if,
Mm-hmm.
diba? If you have the resources, if you have, kay kani mabalik yun singon, yes, I may have the heart, but the experience,
Mm-hmm.
if I have that experience, knowledge or guidance of my grandma, then I might have a good chance.
Mm-hmm.
Ano ba? Something like
Don,
that.
people are wondering, Gyud, I know that you don't have a specific answer for this one, but I know the mayor, Mayor Labella is sick right now. Do you have anything that you can tell me exactly what is his state? Now, sa magid si Mayor Labella din, sa magid siya, like what is he sick of, and yeah, is he running?
Sa balik ba? Balik.
I'm curious. Unsay status ro ni Mayor Labella? Is he running for mayor in the next election? Will he ever go back to City Hall anytime soon in the office? Unsa man status nga ma-announce nimo sa atong mga nanaw karon, what's the status of Mayor Labella?
That I cannot answer, but from what I received the memo that I received is effective today up to October 7.
Okay.
So meaning if October 8 ang deadline sa filing, I don't know what happens. But yeah, it will be crucial for the party, and that's why nag-independent ko para dili sad mabutang sa alanganin akong mga kauban inana ba. And yeah, you never know what happens the next few days. Ang ingon lang gid ni Mike Rama, advice na ko is dong buhatan lang gid imong trabaho kung vice mayor ka dong, presiding officer, make sure you have knowledge of what's in the agenda and unsa yang mga gihatag pa nako nga task, and if you find unsa pa imong matabang sa diha nga department, make sure ipaabot sa ako. But with regards to the mayor, from what I received nga memo, is effective today to October 7. So we really don't know what's going to happen the next few weeks.
Why do you think that is happening? Why do you think wala siya declare o whether mo dagan siya or dili, if he's healthy enough to run for mayor again? Unsa man ka, is it a strategy or unsa man, like wala gid ka ba unsa ibuhaton niya? What do you think?
Well, I really can tell. We haven't talked to the mayor for quite some time. Yeah, and dugay-dugay na yun. And what we only get information from my grandma or Attorney Raymond. And Mona, si my grandma said when he was asked during the press con earlier, his communication was through JP Labella, to Attorney Casas, and to the brothers in Anaba. So ang iya laging advice na ko dong buhat lang gyud sa ang imong task na and don't worry about anything else.
You mentioned hapit na end of filing of candidacy. Did you say October 7, October 8?
Ang akong pagkahibaw is the last day of filing is October 8. So October 1 to October 8. And the memo that I received was up to October 7.
Okay. So kaning mga politicians doon, I'm sure they know what they're going to do, right? Because running for office is something that hindi man na siya kaning something you just decide ora mismo, right? It's not something nga mo decide ka, dagan ko murang palit tindi, planuhon mo ginang maayo. So more or less kibaw na ni silang matawhana mo dagan sa dili. Unsa man, how does it look like doon? How does it look like? Kasi sa mayor, is Tammy Osmani running for office again? Is Mike running for? Unsa may mga nadunggan with that you can speculate?
Well, to be honest, I wish I could tell you, but I cannot speak for them.
Okay.
Well, naa kay madunggan that there are meetings already with different sectors, different barangays, which is the usual inana ba. And like ako, ang ako radyo mastorya, wa gid ka pa sa dakong mga emplea akong staff mudagan batag di kung mudagan man independent inana ba, and again there's risk of not winning, but also there's risk of winning inana ba. So ako lang silang gi-prepare nga andam lang talaga umunta ka bawgid ba unsa kay ang uban na well naa ko yung mga ganahan mo tabang nako doon kung mudagang kaya pagbaw ami, which is you felt good. I mean, there are people who believed in you, in yung kasing-kasing, inana ba, and but in a way, it inspires you ba to do better as well as you are motivated by those person who thought nga wala kay abilidad, inana ba. So, mo sa to'y makatabang ni mo grow. But then again, on really preparing things, ako, but I'm the most unprepared tingali nga kuan ka late kay ko perme ka ng mga t-shirt na data kinahanglan data mag-order t-shirt ka na mo so that's been the case even 2019 or 2018 preparation for 2019 perme gyud ko awahi ana ba.
So Don, dili ka mo you're not going to declare anything yet, at least not yet, and you're not going to be with any party. So has that been done before? Nabay konsehal nga nakadaog independent of recent history?
Urag wa man tingali ana ba.
So but this is not yet 100%. What I mean is it's possible during the time of candidacy that you will affiliate yourself with a political party, or dili yun? You already set na wa jud kay partido.
Well, again, anything can happen, di ba?
Yeah.
From here on, inana ba. So masabtan na nila where I'm coming from and makibaw nila unsa gyud akong direction sa dinana ba. But wala sa nanguyab ko sa duha ha. Okay. Last 2018 I was invited by both parties man.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, with my grandma because I had a personal relationship with him. And mao na nga ang ako lang is mao ni akong direction nga gusto, and if something happens na it's not favorable sa ako o sa ako empleyado, then I have myself to blame. If nasa mahitabo nga nindot, then ako yung pasalamatan ang Ginoo, whatever happens, blessing man na kay something good will come out of it always.
Wow, Don, I know you have another appointment, so I'm just gonna reduce it to a few more questions. We're already 1 year and 6, 7, 8 months into this pandemic, right? And I think the cases are beginning to rise again. The hospitals are getting full again, although not as full as 2 or 3 weeks ago. Then how do you feel about the chances of Cebu City going back to lesser restrictions? How do you feel about Cebu City going back to the new normal? Nga medyo maka-open up na tao, nga maka-serve na tao a little liquor, and maybe we can watch a movie already in the theaters or go to the malls and gather by the hundreds or even by the thousands in a concert. Do you think that is happening anytime soon? What are your feelings, Don?
But it's unfortunate, no? Na, like for example, I won't say a person's name or ansaba. Like for example, one barangay, one sitio, na bakunahan na siya ba? But then namatay siya. But it's not because of the bakuna or unsa ba. Maybe na siya existing sakit or unsa ba. Then I don't know. Then it changes everything. In fact, that sitio, 20 kabok or lapas 20, abot ng mga 30 o 40, wa sila ni dayon og pabakuna bay.
Because ato.
Yes, na sila nadunggan ni inana. Kaya mo mang gipangutana ba inana ba. And moto ang barangay captain naningon siya nga can I accommodate other people who are interested to have their vaccination inana ba. So again by it all boils down to have that inana. And ako I'm for vaccination man ako, and I waited for my turn. I could have done it sa earlier part katong A1 frontliners sa NOAA, pero naguhat ko sa akong A4 sector inana ba. And again, going back sa katong imong gingon nga mabalik data sa normal, I have friends sa States and dito vaccinated na sila. Ang uban naka-mask ba sila kay di sila vaccinated inana ba, naabot na a certain percentage. Kita yes, steadily going there, but if ato manggong i-relax mo na makaingon ko bay hago jud kay atong mga ah, medical frontliners, hago sa kay atong mga police kay mao say manakop inana na pa mong di gid malikayan bay daghan jud kay mga wala lay pakialam bay nana ba, and then uh, di man gid na nato jud malikayan, and it's really kami mga leaders to set example. Yes, na ko'y times nga di ko makita nagmask pero I make sure nga layo sa ko inana, and I'm fully vaccinated sad inana ba, and during the bubble we mo na ba ang experience mo sa bubble ba is we play, before we play antigen test me, and once a week mag RT-PCR me para makita jud ba nga asa ba gyud na control ba gyud dito nga part ang virus, and if wa ba gyud naabot nga worst case inana ba. So again, going back, I don't know if maabot pa tag pila ka months pa of something like this, but again, it has to be a shared responsibility, not only for us from the medical frontliners. It also has to be a shared responsibility, and inhago sa gyud atong mga ground works, which is kanang sa barangay, sa mga tanod. So katong giingon niya nga emphasize para sa mga ginikanan is para sa ilang mga bata nga magawas-gawas niya ba. So natubag ba na ko yung question ba?
Yes, yes, yes. Speaking of COVID-19, I'm watching a lot of television these days, and grabe kaya ka controversial on katong formally and all that stuff, and all these senators talking about it in their session, and away na sila ni Dick Gordon and the president. So, Don, how do you feel about all of this, and how much of this is just plain politics, and how much of this is real corruption? How do you feel about it personally?
Well, every when you're part of the government, like for example, di ba, kinahanglan man gyud nga ma-audited tanan gasto, and I think there's a write-up sa Freeman karon nga based pa sa katong supplemental budget. Kay kung sa kuan pa ba kung sana justice denied, justice delayed,
Denied.
something like that.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Justice delayed is justice denied, something like that. So if di sa ka maka-prove that na nagasto gid ni siya sa sakto and it went to the right process, then you have to be questioned as well. And that's exactly the point during every session namo. If it has to go through the council, it has to go through the right process inana ba. If dili, then it has to go to again mag-vote, or it has to go through a discussion, and but the people will know, and the people will use that kaabot sa election unsa man ang stand ang katong tawhana ngana ba, unsa man ang stand, did he delivered, did he just stay silent, did he contest inana ba. So ang amog yung if ever we decide to run or unsa, ang amog yung judgment day is the election itself.
Absolutely, yeah. Ang excuse na doon, usually doon, is, I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of the fog of war. We are in a war against a disease, right? A virus, right? So medyo gubot, and everything is so unclear. So does that excuse a government official to have all of these blunders because there's a pandemic, a war?
Well, shouldn't be an excuse, pero again, wala magoy template inani good, and even other countries failed or naglisod sad, but you learn as the months go by.
I'm talking about the corruption allegations. That's what I'm talking about. Kaning ang excuse nila na nakalusot or whatever is because medyo we're in a mess, right? There's a fog of war, like I said. So how do you feel about that excuse?
Well, wa pa jud kay nako nasunda no, kay wa man to nako ang katong explanation atong a certain supplier or
yeah, something like that, yeah.
And
so you think this is not just politics, this really something here, or what do you think?
Yeah, there might be something inana kay like for example, okay, like emergency purchase, sometimes it has to go through a certain process kay emergency purchase lang, then you have to justify lang why it went through that, like something like that. And muna I remember ako lang i-case ang ako abay ha, na need na mi kay ang sa NOAA kinahanglan na og dako nga you call it big ass fan. But if iagi pa ni siya og bidding, madugay na. But emergency purchase man naman may giapas diri. So what they did is si Ma'am Joy taon ibayad na lang siya daan para ma-release na lang to ang kuan kay wa na may laing supplier inana ba. So kanang mga inana nga usay mao na mo atubangon kami na lang mubayad sa amin ani kay ma-delay na siya inana. So ang tanaw sa uban is mo na gipadaog man na siya kay naay kanang kuan burag unfair sad ba.
So but at the end of the day kung i-investigate to the process wala tay problema, right?
Yes.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, we're confident if kuan nila i-trace nila na.
I remember distinctly, Vice Mayor or Councilor, in our first conversation, at least our first interview ba nga ni, nagsulian na ita nga, ingon jud ko nga, one of my greatest fears, especially a young politician like you, ideal ka nga, your heart is in the right place, you have all these ideas, unya, you go into politics, you become a government official, and you get, the term that I love to use is you get swallowed by the system. And you have all of these compromises ni mo nga medyo mawagtang na ka, you lose yourself, you lose your ideals. How do you feel about that? And was there sort of opportunity or was it facing you straight in the eye nga all of these things about being a government official nga medyo you have to compromise because that is what politics is, right? Compromise mo juga, right? But at the expense of your ideals nga medyo murag dili na kay as ideal as you once were before you started being a Cebu City Councilor.
Well, case example, like for example, I want really something like this, like for the sports and but is it the top priority? And diya na magawas ng imong brag kasi di lang ako ni i-push maayo ang akong gusto diri dapita. And I don't know unsa imong gusto nga example, but yes, there were times nga mo kuan lang ka bay mo I cannot agree to that, and ang the good thing is ingnan jud mi nila nga don you
frustrate ka, ma-frustrate sa gasay.
Yes, sometimes it's frustrating, and ang nakanindot sa this by you're not forced musulti jud ka unsa imong stand on certain issues, then ipaabot lang nato sa majority floor leader unsa imong stand na then mo na discuss na, then we go to the next part is to present it to the council, something like that.
Then how do you feel about transparency? Because I think we also discussed this back in 2019 when we had a conversation.
Kadali, mga 2 minutes lang.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you for being transparent. So, Don, how do you feel about transparency? Because kani mga allegations of corruption and all that stuff can be totally eliminated kung transparent lang ka. Like, all of a sudden, you hear nga ang mga bank accounts ano nila, their value, mo increase by 500%, mo dato na galit. So, klaro kayo ba? Like, where else can you find the money, right? To amass all that money, all that wealth, right? Tungod ka na government official ka, nidato lang galit. So, nangita ka, nakakitabahong lain nga, or whatever. So, my question is, how do you feel about transparency, Don? And then, do you think that something like transparency would be a good sort of political stand? I'm transparent. I'm going to show you my bank account. How do you feel about that?
Yes, I'm open to sharing my bank account. In fact, by a few months ago, kadawat me og notice from I don't know sa tong agency. Kay ngano ko nung na ako'y dagang kwarta ni kalit sud sa akong bank account. Wa man sila kabaw bay nga ni mature naman akong investment pagka 23 years old sa pro-life. Gi-promote ang pro-life sa So, nadawat na nako bay ang kana akong lump sum ba na apil ang savings na ba. Yes, open kay ko ana bay nga transparent kayo, open your bank account. Anyway, akong ATM naman sa akong misis ko po to mo ko.
So you're open to that idea?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Na mag-transparent tayo like, anong siya look ka nimo, pwede kayo mag-Facebook live kasi ang bank account para may bawas mo kung kinsay mo suro sa dili, right?
Yes, wajay
Seriously.
problema ba?
Huh?
Wajay problema na mo na ako ba di man sa ko ano I have sa man ako I don't have any interest whatsoever. In fact, I'm more interested to be a future PBA head coach.
Don, have you been? You hear a lot about corruption, right? So, have you been? Did you ever have an opportunity or a offer to make more money? And did you accept it or did you refuse it? Tinanay lang.
Nay mo dool na ko ba nga mo bid sila inana ba mo bid sila inana and they told me stories about a certain percentage in kubay kung mo bid mo ba yun sa sorry kaya di lang ko makailam dito na lang mo ana ba I course na lang to the people nga asa mo makabid like for example and I remember ba kanang sa bugas na kanin lang gid akong i-case sa bugas inana ba kay na-issue man gid na nganong kaning bugas kani atong bayran inana when the Cebu province was able to pay for kani pero there's a reason nganong Cebu province kana ilang rate and the city was able to pay this kind of rate inana ba kay dugay lagi mabayran inana and other LGU mausa na ilang rate ba inana so nay amigo na ko ba ni duol ba inana ako ba na lang ko mo-appeal og kuno kay kibaw ko ako pa lang imong paninglan yung dugay makabayad na so
you have been tempted. There are opportunities, of course, being a government official.
It's tempted by kay naraman nila like for example I don't know if kuan like ningon ako ba kung naalam ko liquid kung nay mo tabang nako og kanang don sige palit og kuan then diha na ako mo duol di mo bay mo patabangon na kung diha lang na sila mo palit og bugas nimo pero diri bay course through nimo diri na ako maglisod jud na bay kay kibaw ko like ako katong nagpalit ko og akong plane ticket og akong kuan padung sa Batang Pinoy ato ito pila ka months bay para ma-reimburse akong gibayad inana niya dito kay butang sa langanin bay inana ba siya sige okay ra inana ba so wala lang ko ni ako lipay ko sa sweldo niya nam sa ko sweldo sa Phoenix as assistant
So
coach.
yeah, I was going to ask you that. How's the money of a Cebu City Councilor worth it? Ba? Like it's not PBA money, right? But how's it?
Angon sa man?
Ang sweldo niyo ba? Like how's the money for being a Cebu City Councilor? Is it worth it?
Among sweldo as councilor?
Yeah.
I can say this, okay na no?
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Yeah, among sweldo is 120.
Okay, so okay ra siya, not basketball money, right? But
Yeah,
good enough, right?
Man sa kay ko kuan bay di man sa kay ko kana unsay pangalan ni.
Sige kag patupi o yan. Wapo kay kag bokro no?
Libre man akong tupi di ba? Bayad di. Wala ba? But again, giingnan lagi ko di mo dagang kag vice mayor pachoy-choy ra man ka wa kay gibuhat pero ako lamig kay tubagon. Sa akong pagka-choy-choy na ako'y contract. Nakoy contract sa Fighter 50, nakoy contract sa Rescue, nakoy contract sa Phoenix. Lamay ito bagon ba? Ba't yan ganit sa
So, kinsa may nagtupi ni mo doon? Kinsa katupi
Hindi
mo?
nga naman ba? Sa una, sa winter niya tupi.
Kinsa panganya?
Rainy. Bay, daghan na kayo nagpakuan sa niya, home service lagi.
Home service di siya?
Yeah, tuon na ako siya, pero daghan ang home service sa niya. Magbisikleta ra siya.
Unsa man ang style si mong buhok doon? Unsa man ang style la? Unsa man ang style la?
Aburag ko bad boy look pa.
Bad boy de galon. Bad boy de galon. Ano na good boy ka doon?
Nanagay ko tattoo ba yo?
Unsa man ang tattoo? What is that?
Either ma-influence nimo imong anak or ikaw ma-influence sa imong anak. So siya daghan naman kay siya tattoo so
na-influence ka.
Influence.
Don, we're down to the last few days of registration, right? Gamay na lang kulang. We will also have the last few days of filing of registration of a candidacy, filing of candidacy starting October 1 until October 7. So,
up to October 8.
October 8, I'm sorry. So, especially those that are still not registered, especially those candidates that are still thinking about it. What is your message to the Cebuanos watching this interview right now? We are still in a pandemic. Times are still very hard. yung daghang kayong mga way trabaho, kung naa magay trabaho, lisod ang ilang panginabuhi. Some people, are just languishing at home. Some of them are hopeless. Some of them have lost hope. And then we have an election coming up and all that stuff. Unsa may imong mensahe doon? Maybe you can give us a few words of encouragement, perhaps doon to your fellow Cebuanos watching this interview right now, Councilor. Go ahead.
First now to those who are kanang galisod yun sa kanang mga trabaho na wagtangan yun. Well, naara man ginay gamito ng Ginoo nga mapaabot, no? Doesn't have to be kami, but naay motabang niyo diha, and ako, I'm grateful that I have people from the private sector that doon nami itatag dire, then murag dawat ra ko slimpyo ba. And I would always say nga nganong mo post ko, but not to promote myself, but of course there are other people, especially from the private sector, who wants to help, and walan sila kabaw pa ang uban, asa ni sila angay tabangan, but if kami nami pagkuwang, let us know. Mutabang media kutob sa among makaya, and especially during this time of pandemic, di sad pasabot the leaders are working, especially sa inyong barangay. Nakita sa nako, na-experience na ako nga grabe kay na sila matrabaho. In fact, when nag-part ni sa anti-mendicancy and katong nag-roving ni Luoy kayo ang kapitan diya sa San Roque, kay napuno na sa naya do. Gi-observe mo gyud ang social distancing pero di malikayan. Grabe ilang kugi, and I remember na human na mi adto alauna media sa kadlawon, wala na mo gitiwas kay napuno na. There are people working, and I hope in our own little way, which nawa kabay, no?
It's okay. It's okay. Please continue. It's just a video. My audio is still on.
Yeah, we show our appreciation by doing our part as well. Katong gitawag na ako nga shared responsibility. And we do our part to contain this situation, and going to the election, be more informed of the candidate that you want to support. And there are other candidates, and I can't mention names, but if you check them, they're very much active. They pass legislative measures to help support, again, the general welfare, those in need. And I'm not choosing both sides, but naasad both sides yun. They ako by the impressed by nga wow, kanang they are really doing their job. Ano kanang maayo kay sila. They're more than, of course they have the experience, and ako, I'm just amazed of well, makaingon magud ta kung naka sa different parties lahi ila ba, pero when you get to know them, they have helped a lot also, and daghan pa sila ma-contribute. So ako, I'm promoting them, that I think para nako they have number one lagi ko, but I think they're more deserving of those. Di lang sila as katunog sa akong pangan, inana ba ako I enjoy ni nako because I played for the longest time, and I represented Cebu City for the longest time, inana ba. So tanaw nako when I learn about them, wow, daghan jud kay sila og abilidad, and again ilang apelyido lang is dili ma-compare sa ako, kay mas nailhan ko inana, like imo pa kong gi-promote inana ba. So I hope they get their chance as well to be interviewed, to be recognized for their efforts, their whole legislative career. Yan ba? So,
Minsan mo mga tao na doon, maybe you can mention their names if you like.
Oo nga, nangampanya ko nila ba yan?
Okay.
So,
how about your supporters doon? What is your message? What is your message to them? Ibang mga supporters nga kuan sila, gahuwat sila kung unsa gi decision nimo, kung dagan ba ka presidente or vice president sa Pilipinas, unsa?
Ako, I'm just grateful by sa ilang support, and uban sila na yung makig-away, but then again, ako na nang ingnon sila nga like for example, ako kauban sa staff nga ako mao din akong permi isulti nga mag-enjoy lang kita sa opportunity nga makatabang ta, di ta ma in love sa position, di ba? Di ta ma in love ani kay every 3 years sa bagay ni atong trabaho, the same way with sa career sa PBA, you perform, then it's up to management if hatagan pa ka og contract. The same way also ang mo decide na ang mga tao, but para nako I hope makasabot mo unsa akong decision whatsoever, but know that I put my heart into it, and the next pila ka months matrabaho lang ko as unsa akong trabaho, and I hope kung unsang decision magtinabangay lang ta inana ba, and wala na.
Is there a date, Don, that you have set na you will make a decision, or wala pa?
Since number 7 man ko, October 7 akong decision kung mudagan bagdi, at least I have one day to decide on number 8, which is infinity.
Patriling is ganda.
Oh, patriling na lang ta, pero ingnan lang daan ba? Antam lang tayo, nana ba?
If they want to know more about what is happening with, where can they go? The social media platforms. Go ahead, sir. Social media. Where can they catch you? Where can they catch you? Do TikTok and
oh yeah, okay.
Facebook and Instagram and all that. I'm just kidding.
Unsa man updates sa diri
No, where can they find you on the social media platforms? If they want to get in touch with you and reach out to you and all that stuff.
Actually, bay katuanan ka na ba usay baka nang mag-post kay ko sa IG. Dagan na mo gawas diri kons na may problema diri sa kuan ni nana ba, usually ang comment dito kons ang ayan na ni mo kons ang ayan kay kasi mong anak ba, pero most of the comments na or kanang private messages kons na may problema diri sa kuan, din ako din na screenshot i-send din ako sa akong ate makatabang tari dapita imo siyang ma-refer na gamit kina akong ate ug akong EA. So yeah, to reach me is akong Facebook page is Donaldo Dondon Hontiveros. So akong ipakita akong ipakita para makita nila unsa gyud ang akong FB page. And akong IG is Dihon7. So mao ni Donaldo Dondon Hontiveros. So
wow, kagalang-galang ha.
Yes.
Facebook na siya, Facebook.
Yes, commitment and discipline and
that's your Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook page.
Instagram
is
same picture.
Ang Instagram is the picture is pinay man ang wifi dere. So Dihon7 o kanay siya ba?
Okay, the Philippine flag.
The Philippine flag. Nana. So kung ilang niyang followers nana kay nana kanang ingon nila ba pa chuy kay of course naman may advantage kay say makadawat mig message doon, are you willing to post this, then you'll get paid something like this. Yeah, kayo do. Pasalamat lang day ko bay, can I take this time like
go ahead please, by all means.
My supporters, like for example a Fighter 50 Oy Masuy, they've been helping the past 2 years by daghan na kay na deliver na sila nga alcohol to different sectors, barangay, kay na liquor ban ba sila bay, so wa na ang ilang wine ilang convert to alcohol. So again, and ila kong pasalamat gininyo nila akong contract. And Phoenix, the times that I wasn't there, among gi-course through sa mga different activities. And also si Ma'am Guada supporting my outreach as well. So muna pasalamat ko na kay tabang sa private sector inana ba.
So, okay. Where are you off to now? I know you're in a secret meeting, right?
Yeah, I'll be going to a meeting in Mactan. Crucial kay ni Zia.
Does it have anything to do with your decision to run for higher office on October 7th?
Pao ko ba kung appeal na siya. But then again, we'll be meeting people. Sana si Eric Miliana, ang amigo, mayor sa Prosperidad.
Yeah, of course.
Paway mo sa siya, then he'll be leaving so meetings at me, but nasa usabay nag-order for Alaska kay naitabangan bang LGU somewhere in Visayas. So ako sa dang ni-connect sa Alaska kay para makakuha discount. So yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Salamat kay sa mga
thank you so much for being so generous with your time, Donna. Thank you so much. I know you're very busy. You're a vice mayor now, and acting vice mayor now, and you have a meeting in Mactan. So good luck, and I hope you stay safe and keep on doing the good work, Don. Thank you so much. Daghang salamat, Don.
Thank you, I appreciate
Hontiveros, Cebu City Councilor. Thank you.